It's Mario Kart Wii, that one.
For Mario Kart Wii. It's just so funny that they would, like, maybe Zach's right. It's obviously a hypothesis at this point, but it's just like maybe that goes all the way down to their basic DNA, that even something as straightforward, you'd think, as a racing game, still starts off as a playground.
I think what happened with the 95% rule was that they knew their checkpoint system was messed up. They knew that there was maybe a way to exploit it, but they weren't sure, so they decided, okay, as long as you're not cutting out 95% of the track, we're good to go, without realizing that that system was messed up too, because it pretty much never told you that you were 95% complete. So it didn't really help anything except prevent one glitch on Sugarland and a couple maybe other minor things.
I think for some developers this is the bane of their existence, and for others, like for us right now, it's like because we love these videos, right? It's just like this is what video games are, right?
I just want to emphasize. I mean, there's so many, as we've talked about in this episode, good things about SummoningSalt's videos, but like even though we tend to interview game devs on this show, to me there is such a clear link for game developers watching SummoningSalt's videos, like Zach was talking about. There's some like super deep but hard to articulate truth of how code itself is actually unintentionally a form of game design.
Shit.
And even on the show, like we're having trouble, like Zach's made a good attempt at kind of piecing together why it is that Nintendo games seem to do this. But I would just really recommend like seeing somebody like SummoningSalt summarize glitches and work around and getting to that level of code. There's something just super educational from a programmer, game designer point of view that's hard to talk about like osmos in like after watching 5 of your videos. So yeah, that to me is like my hidden, like I love the music, I love the narratives, all that kind of stuff, but there's some super deep game design truths that you're like kind of hinting at, which I love.
Yeah, and as I'm making these videos more detailed and doing more research, I think that just gets more and more clear in each of them. Like in my first Mario Kart Wii video, I didn't talk about the 95% rule. I'm not even sure if it was discovered at the time, but even if it was, it might have never come up. And now for the second one, I'm doing even more research and going in depth. Stuff like that does come up more often.
And not to like navel gaze too much, but Doug, when you're saying that too, I think that really that like ineffable something is kind of where like the subtitle of our podcast comes from, like the Secret Lives of Games. Like when we rebranded our show, we were like thinking really hard about what it is, the thing that's interesting to us, and the most interesting discussions is like people's creative process, but also a lot of these like weirdness and secrets and subverting games is like these other pieces to it that we all really enjoy, and is sort of some of the most fun stuff we've talked about. And yeah, I think like you said, like that's a big part of SummoningSalt videos. It's really like doing deep dives into some of our favorite pieces of those.
And can I say, and something that you might be interested in one of our earliest episodes with Andy Hull, who was a programmer on Spelunky HD, we actually get into this where like Spelunky has all these incredible glitches that lead to these really fascinating stories, not just speed runs, but like kind of weird specialty runs you can do. And it was all intentional, but made possible by the way that they code the game. So again, there's some sort of like deep truth about like how you code the game literally will affect these possibilities that these expert level players will have. So anyway, yeah, if people are interested in this general topic, go check out the interview with Andy Hull.
Doug, do you want to ask that task question? I think that's a pretty good one to know while we're sort of here.
Oh yeah, so SummoningSalt, in several of your videos, you mentioned tool-assisted speedruns that kind of allow a human to piece together kind of by save states and trying again and again to even do like runs and exploit glitches that wouldn't be humanly possible. And oftentimes, like, so for example, you mentioned in some of the Punch-Out videos, people seeing and using tool-assisted speedruns to kind of show what strategies might be possible. And I was curious, is anyone using like machine learning or something with Taz videos to like farm out new strategies? Like, or is the possibility space too big? Like, I'm thinking about Punch-Out here, and this like drama of runners gradually discovering new optimizations. Are we at risk of like
I definitely have two ropes.
Discovery processes too much if like we can just like evolve task videos to kind of find these optimizations automatically? Like, is there a discussion about that in Punch-Out or other speedrunning communities?
There's been a couple instances of that I can think of.
That was a weird one.
one of them, I believe, was how the cannonless setup was discovered in Mario 64, where you clip into a wall to get a star, and it used to be you would just run into it and get it maybe 20% of the time. And it was
Such
random.
bad team out.
But this guy Sock Folder figured out this really elaborate setup you could do where you'd like hang onto the ledge of this platform and then get up and adjust the camera twice, and then while it's adjusting, hold straight down on the control stick. And I believe the way he figured that out was by having, I don't know if it was a program or whatever it was, testing pretty much every single series of inputs possible at this point, all the way up until him collecting the star and seeing what worked. I'm pretty sure that's what he did. Hopefully I'm not just making up a story here, but I'm almost certain that's what Sock Folder did. There's been a couple things like that in Super Mario Brothers also, where they were checking which frame rules would fire a good bullet bill to do the bullet bill glitch, where a frame rule is an increment of time where you arrive to a level. So they just used a piece of software to check that for thousands and thousands and thousands of different frame rules. So it's been done a little bit, but nothing to the point where it's like breaking the game in ways that you wouldn't want, or that would be taking the human discovery out of it.
Is that whole realm sort of exciting to you, or do you sort of like prefer that the people like put in the time to find these things by hand?
It's exciting, definitely on levels like that. I'm not really sure how much more it can be used though, because once you get more than like a few seconds of gameplay, it turns into like millions and millions and then quickly billions and trillions of different inputs you'd have to test. So at some point it just becomes like not really realistic. So I think we're okay for now.
It was making me think there's a moment in your Contra video where one of the runners like fell into a pit where you would usually die, and it just like started him on the second level, and it was this giant crazy moment that all this research was done into, and the takeaway was like, oh, it's just a glitch, it was a hardware error, like nothing happened. It was making me think like maybe an AI could try falling in every possible hole in every possible sequence, but
Right.
like you said, it becomes kind of exponential and maybe hard to replicate. So.
Yeah, that's such a funny story, that glitch, because it's happened to other people before too, which is kind of making us think maybe we overlooked something, and maybe it's not actually a hardware error, but so far no one knows what it is, and that's the consensus right now. Is that it
And
was,
that's the most exciting part, that it lives as this weird legend.
right. Yep, exactly.
I mean, I love the whole tool assisted speedrun stuff. Like, again, watching your videos is lovely to watch these collaborative efforts, right? Where one person's like messing around with the tool assisted speedrun, figuring out new strategies, and then other people who are, I can only assume, better at execution, using them then to come up with these better times. Is that a tradition? Is that like a thing that's just solidified in the community, that there are just like a group of people who are better at, say, strategy and like finding different strategies, and then people who are better at executing them?
Yeah, I would say that's generally true. Most top runners of the game, they end up devoting most of their time to just running it. You look at Cheese or Simply or Puncation for Mario 64. Those guys, I don't think they do too much in terms of strategy hunting. They just spend most of their time playing the game. For some smaller communities, though, there's definitely some of each. Like for me with Punch-Out, I try to do both. I don't have as a high level of knowledge for how the game works as some people do, but I have found a handful of different strategies, and I've also done quite a bit of running. But typically, as the game gets bigger, people tend to specialize more and more on their own thing.
Right. Does it ever happen that
I was
the
just
person
watching
who's
that now.
good at the execution, the runner comes up with a new strategy that they just like stumble upon by happenstance?
Yeah, that's happened before. It's pretty rare. Like, it's not as common as you'd kind of wish it would be, but and yeah, occasionally they'll be doing something and then they'll mess up and realize, okay, wait, that's actually faster. No, okay, let's do that instead.
Because it sounds like a counterintuitive thing that would happen, right? They're like, oh, I just messed up. Oh, wait, no. Suddenly it's a lot better.
Yeah, I know that in Punch-Out, this was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. This runner Sinister One was fighting Von Kaiser, and it's divided into 3 phases, where each phase is like a knockdown. So after the second knockdown, he accidentally redid the second phase of the fight instead of doing his normal third phase strategy.
That was a
And he
410.
realized wait, nope, that's faster. I should be doing this instead. I should just repeat phase 2. So ever since then,
Beating
it's
out
always
my
been,
420.
it was completely discovered by mistake.
I mean, I'm just, again, for me, watching these collaborations is just a thing of beauty. I can only assume that the community just rewards both of those tasks equally. Is that true? Like, the people...
Well, a lot of times these discoveries have been overlooked in favor of people actually getting the records, but...
Wait, what? You can make this guy climb a ladder?
People credit who discovered it. Do my best to credit people properly.
And you do a great job of that. Like, hats off to that. Like, it's really,
That's a mechanic?
extremely well done. Like, it feels to me like, not being in the community, it feels like it's very
I think
respectful
he
for all
suck.
people involved who like had a hand in finding the actual best run.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I mean,
That's a glitch.
that's the goal. Celebrate the community and tell their story. And a lot of people who would be overlooked, whether it be holders or people who actually have strategies, you know, just try to give them their credit. Tell people who they were.
Nice.
We had a question from John Axon on the Discord. How do you come up with the aesthetic or tone for the series? The editing and musical choices, like the musician Home, have warm vintage quality to them. It feels like I'm watching a VHS documentary on the best Olympic runners of the 80s or something. So yeah, how did that like synthwave, chill 80s warm vintage aesthetic? How did you try that?
Well, as far as like my video editing goes, I can't even. Really
Why do
tell
they
you.
do that?
It's just something I don't know. It's like my it's like someone's handwriting, I guess, where it's just that's how they write. You can't really change it. It's like that was how it felt natural for me to edit. So I've just been doing it that way, trying to make it, I guess, a little more dramatic. And as far as the music goes, I used to use just video game music, random video game music.
What is
and,
this?
Eventually realized that I should probably try to change it up a bit, develop my own style. So
Join me, my friend.
I randomly found, I was just looking on SoundCloud for
What?
anything that sounded kind of dramatic, and one of the songs they recommended was "We're Finally Landing" by Home, and I listened to it, and
Join
then
them.
I was like, okay, this is
There we go.
perfect. This is what I'm looking for. I want something like this. So I clicked on his channel, looked at his other music, decided it was also what I was looking for.
If you enjoyed this Spelunky 2 speedrun, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.